The money was sitting in my checking account, ready to go. I had even called my bank to pre-authorize the large transfer, so it wouldn't get flagged as suspicious. That's how convinced I was that Cryptonaxis AI was legitimate. What makes me cringe now is how I handed over critical personal information to these people. My full name, address, email, phone number, and a scan of my driver's license for their verification process. I had essentially gift-wrapped my identity along with my money. After that coffee with my friend and my late-night research session, I realized with growing horror that I'd nearly fallen for a sophisticated scam. My heart pounded in my chest as I called my bank at 7 a.m. the next morning, my voice trembling as I explained the situation to the fraud department. They immediately blocked any transfers to cryptocurrency platforms for the next 30 days and flagged my previous $500 transfer as potentially fraudulent, though they warned recovery was unlikely. Unfortunately, cryptocurrency transfers are nearly impossible to reverse once completed, the bank representative explained. Unlike credit card transactions, crypto transactions don't have a chargeback mechanism. Those words hit me hard. My $500 test deposit was gone forever, a $500 lesson in modern scam techniques. I immediately launched into damage control. I changed every password I had, starting with email and banking accounts. I set up two-factor authentication on everything. I contacted the major credit bureaus to place fraud alerts on my reports and froze my credit entirely to prevent anyone from opening new accounts in my name. I documented everything, screenshots of the platform, saved email exchanges with Michael, and details of our phone conversations while still fresh in my memory. I reported the scam to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, the FTC, and the CFTC, creating a paper trail for my protection and to help authorities potentially track these scammers. I decided to confront Michael one last time, curious how he'd react when I told him I knew what was happening. The transformation was instant and chilling. The friendly, supportive advisor suddenly turned hostile. "You're making a huge mistake," he said coldly. "Our other investors are making incredible returns right now." When I mentioned the Reddit thread exposing their scam, he switched tactics. "That's a different company with a similar name. Competitors are trying to damage our reputation because our technology is revolutionary." Then came the threats. "If you're planning to post negative reviews, our legal team will consider that defamation." It was manipulation at its finest, making me fear missing out, creating doubt about my research, and finally threatening me. But I could now see through all of it. What really shook me was discovering I wasn't alone. After posting about my experience on Reddit, I received dozens of private messages from others who had fallen for the exact same scam. Some lost small amounts like me, but others lost entire retirement savings, over $200,000 in some cases. One older couple had to postpone their retirement after losing $237,000 to the same group. I was literally days away from transferring $10,000 and had already lost $500. If my friend hadn't looked concerned, if I hadn't done those Google searches, or if I had dismissed those warning signs, I would have made that transfer. And once cryptocurrency leaves your wallet, it's virtually impossible to recover. The most terrifying aspect wasn't even the money I almost lost, but the personal information I had shared. Scammers often collect personal information, creating ongoing identity theft risks that require years of monitoring. Every notification about a new account or credit inquiry now makes my heart skip a beat. Months later, I still maintain active fraud alerts, check my accounts daily, and have become cautious about sharing personal information online. This experience has fundamentally changed how I approach my finances and online presence. No one is immune to these scams. They target people with financial knowledge and savings, using sophisticated technology and psychological manipulation that can fool even cautious individuals. These scammers are professionals who know exactly which emotional buttons to push. If you find yourself in a similar situation, remember that legitimate investments don't need pressure tactics or artificial urgency. Always verify information through independent sources before sending money to anyone. Why smart people fall for scams? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Being financially knowledgeable doesn't make you immune to scams, and sometimes it actually makes you more vulnerable. That was the hardest lesson for me to accept. I make videos about money. I research financial topics for a living. And yet, I almost handed over $10,000 to complete strangers on the internet because they showed me some fancy graphs and promised me above-average returns. Financial knowledge created this dangerous overconfidence in me. Like wearing armor with hidden weak spots, I thought my expertise protected me completely while leaving crucial vulnerabilities exposed. I genuinely believed I knew enough to spot scams. I understand how markets work. I know what's possible, I told myself. This confidence became my biggest weakness. When you believe you're scam-proof, you let your guard down, make exceptions, and convince yourself you'll recognize warning signs. The scammers specifically target people with financial knowledge because we have savings and understand terminology that makes their fake explanations plausible. When Michael discussed algorithmic trading and cross-exchange arbitrage, I understood these concepts, making his explanation seem credible despite being nonsense. I could follow his logic, though the claims were fabricated. Modern scams don't trigger obvious alarm bells. They exist at the edge of plausibility, in that gray area where part of your brain says this might be legitimate, while another whispers be careful. Cryptonaxis AI promised returns high enough to excite me, but not so high they screamed obvious scam. They created just enough plausibility that greed overrode caution. I was dealing with stress that created additional vulnerability. Though not desperate, I felt behind on financial goals and wanted to accelerate savings for a down payment. This mild financial pressure made me receptive to solutions promising to help me catch up. Psychological research confirms this vulnerability. Financial strain makes people more receptive to opportunities promising quick relief, even dubious ones. The desire to improve financial situations can override critical thinking skills, making individuals susceptible to schemes that seem too good to be true. We're all vulnerable to cognitive biases that scammers exploit. Once I started hoping Cryptonaxis AI was real, I focused on supporting evidence while dismissing warnings, classic confirmation bias. I believed testimonials from successful investors, yet made excuses for inconsistencies in their algorithm explanations. Behavioral economists explain that confirmation bias causes people to focus on evidence supporting existing beliefs, even when based on falsehoods. Scammers exploit this by presenting information aligning with victims' desires, making it difficult to question legitimacy. The scammers created a false sense of control through small decisions, scheduling calls, choosing my test deposit amount, selecting which verification documents to provide first. These choices made me feel in charge while I was being guided down a predetermined path. According to fraud psychology experts, this incremental commitment technique increases the likelihood victims will continue investing money or providing personal information, even as red flags emerge. Modern scams are psychologically sophisticated, targeting our biases and vulnerabilities while creating enough plausibility to overcome skepticism. They prey on our humanity, our hopes, fears, desires, and cognitive blind spots. The most humbling realization was accepting that no one is truly immune. These scams target human psychology, not just knowledge gaps. They exploit how our brains work and how we make decisions under uncertainty. Research on decision-making shows that overconfidence bias significantly affects risk assessment. This cognitive bias leads people to believe they're less likely to experience negative events than peers, creating an illusion of invulnerability. My near miss with this scam, despite my knowledge, reflects how sophisticated these schemes have become and how effectively they target psychological vulnerabilities we all share. Scammers don't need to fool your knowledge. They bypass it by appealing directly to emotions. This is why sharing these stories matters. We must move beyond stereotypes that only uninformed people fall for scams. Anyone can be vulnerable under the right circumstances. Understanding this makes us more likely to check assumptions, verify information independently, and protect ourselves from increasingly sophisticated threats. The research that saved me. The simple research steps that saved me from losing $10,000 are actions anyone can take, but most people don't until it's too late. Looking back, I'm shocked at how basic these checks were and how quickly they revealed the truth. We're talking about simple Google searches that took less than an hour, not some complex investigation requiring special skills. The first crucial step I took was Googling Cryptonaxis AI scam and Cryptonaxis AI review. I hadn't thought to do this until after weeks of calls with Michael. Immediately, several concerning Reddit threads appeared from people describing experiences identical to mine. Same platform features, same advisor tactics, same withdrawal problems. One person had lost over $30,000 to what was clearly the same operation operating under a slightly different name months earlier. After seeing these initial red flags, I started digging deeper. Cryptonaxis AI had repeatedly told me they were fully registered with the SEC and sent me a certificate with what looked like an official registration number. I went directly to the SEC's website and searched their database of registered entities. No record of Cryptonaxis AI existed. The same check with FINRA yielded nothing. The registration numbers on their certificates were completely fabricated. Their impressive team photos started bothering me too. Their website featured about 15 team members with professional headshots and detailed bios. I saved a few images and uploaded them to Google's reverse image search. 2 turned out to be stock photos used on multiple websites. For the others, I found nothing suspicious for supposed finance professionals who would normally have some online presence. Using a tool that detects AI-generated images confirmed my suspicions. Most of their team photos were created by AI. A simple WHOIS lookup revealed their domain had only been registered 4 months earlier, despite claims of being established in 2019 and managing over $200 million. This discovery hit me hard emotionally. I'd been on the verge of trusting them with my money based on a completely fabricated history. When I searched legitimate business registries, the results were equally damning. Their website claimed a New York headquarters, but the New York State Division of Corporations database showed no record of them. Checks in Delaware and other states yielded nothing. They simply didn't exist as a legal entity. Finally, I posted screenshots of their technical explanations about their algorithm on cryptocurrency subreddits. Experts quickly responded that the descriptions were word salad, complete nonsense, and technobabble designed to sound impressive to non-technical people. One developer explained their algorithm description violated basic principles of cryptocurrency market function. All these verification steps took less than an hour total. In that short time, I had conclusive evidence from multiple independent sources that Cryptonaxis AI was a complete fabrication. Research shows this verification across multiple sources is vital. As one cryptocurrency security expert explains, before investing in any opportunity, conducting thorough research across independent sources is your best protection against sophisticated scams. Why did I overlook such basic research initially? Looking back, I realize how the psychological trap they created clouded my judgment. They built trust first, making me less likely to question their legitimacy. The excitement of potential gains and fear of missing out overwhelmed my normal skepticism. I felt embarrassed it took me so long to perform these basic checks. Most scams collapse under minimal scrutiny from independent sources. That's why they push for quick decisions and create artificial urgency. They don't want you to have time to Google their company or check regulatory databases. The most effective research isn't complicated. It's checking multiple independent sources rather than relying solely on information provided by the investment opportunity. Anyone can perform these same checks. 1. Google the company name plus scam or review. 2. Verify regulatory claims directly with financial authorities. 3. Check team photos with reverse image search. 4. Look up domain registration details. 5. Search business registry databases. 6. Ask for expert opinions on technical claims. As a cybersecurity researcher notes, this kind of due diligence is essential to protect yourself from scams. Failing to do so can lead to most dangerous financial losses. The scam I almost fell for has a disturbing name, pig butchering, and it's currently the fastest growing and most devastating type of crypto fraud out there. Trust me, the name is as unsettling as the scam itself, and for good reason. Unlike obvious scams that demand money immediately, pig butchering operates like slow cooking a meal, gradually tenderizing victims over weeks or months before the final harvest. The scammers fatten up their targets by building trust before taking everything. This methodical approach makes these scams particularly effective and devastating. Michael spent almost 3 weeks getting to know me before suggesting I increase my investment. He remembered details about my life, asked about my weekend plans, and built what felt like a genuine connection. This carefully orchestrated relationship specifically lowered my defenses, like marinating meat until it's perfectly tender and vulnerable. Behind these operations are large criminal organizations with sophisticated networks, often based in Southeast Asia. The FBI has uncovered that some scam compounds use human trafficking victims forced to work as scammers. These victims become unwilling instruments in a cruel machine designed to extract wealth from unsuspecting targets. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reports investment scams as the top crypto-related crime category, with $5.8 billion in losses. Individuals 60 and older reported $2.8 billion in losses from crypto-related scams, making older adults the most financially impacted demographic. What distinguishes pig butchering is the relationship building. Scammers reach out through text messages, social media, or dating apps and develop what feels like authentic friendship before mentioning investments. In my case, Michael built rapport through our shared interest in finance and technology, asking about my investment goals and appearing genuinely interested in helping me achieve them. Only during our fourth conversation did he mention their special investment opportunity. By then, I already trusted him. These scammers build confidence strategically. They typically allow small withdrawals early on to demonstrate legitimacy. When I wanted to test their withdrawal process with $50 from my initial deposit, Michael happily helped. The money appeared in my account 2 days later, creating a false sense of security that made me comfortable depositing much more. The trap springs when larger amounts get deposited. Suddenly, technical issues with withdrawals appear, along with verification requirements or minimum holding periods. By the time victims realize what's happening, their money has vanished. The emotional trauma often exceeds the financial loss. Victims experience deep betrayal, shame, and broken trust after realizing someone they considered a friend manipulated them entirely. One victim from a support forum described it as worse than being robbed, because when you're robbed, you don't blame yourself for trusting the robber. This psychological damage can affect relationships and mental health for years. Researchers estimate $10 to $12 billion was stolen through pig butchering scams in 2024 alone, up from $2.6 billion just 2 years earlier, nearly a 400% increase. As cryptocurrency becomes mainstream, these numbers will likely continue climbing. University of Texas researchers explain that cryptocurrency facilitates these frauds because it allows scammers to move substantial funds easily, cheaply, and without much fear of detection. Artificial intelligence is making these scams even more sophisticated. Scammers now use AI to create highly personalized approaches and bypass security measures, including Know Your Customer, KYC, requirements that would otherwise prevent anonymous operation. What makes pig butchering particularly dangerous is how it blurs the line between scam and relationship. When someone you've been talking to for weeks suggests an investment opportunity, your defenses are down. You don't evaluate the investment critically because you trust the person recommending it. These emotional attachments override logical thinking. You ignore red flags not because you don't see them, but because you trust the person waving them. If someone contacts you unexpectedly and eventually steers the conversation toward investments, especially cryptocurrency with guaranteed returns, be extremely cautious. Legitimate financial advisors don't find clients through WhatsApp or Instagram DMs.